Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to a brand new year. Welcome to everything that you've missed since last year. I know it's been a long time. It's been a whole week, but it feels like longer, doesn't it? So I'm going to give it a minute. I'm going to let people join in. Let people get here. We're still waiting on a couple of key individuals to join us. Hello there, Jacob Dominic. How are you doing, buddy? You ready to get started? You ready? All right. We've given them about a minute. Good. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's roll with it. So, welcome. Welcome to the very best thing. The very best thing in the whole wide world. The best part of your day, your week, your month, and so far at least, probably your year. Now, if you would like to join me on this amazing journey, if you would like to reach the height of humanity, the culmination of all of civilization, the thing that makes everything just a little bit better, then you should join me now for a cheers that we will do together. So find yourself something to drink. Find yourself some sort of beverage vessel. Hey there, Tim. How are you, buddy? Find something to drink. I have a nice cup of coffee. And lift it now with me and join me in our Cheers with Chaps. Cheers, boys. It's good to have you here, Tim. It's a first timer. He's a friend of mine from way back in the days out in Incheon. Now, let's go ahead and jump straight into our lesson. Because now that I've had my Cheers with Chaps, I feel invigorated. Ooh, I might need to do it again. That is good stuff. I am enjoying this new coffee I got. But that's not what we're here for, is it? That's not the point of this. We're here to learn something important. I always talk to you guys about how important it is to go out and to approach women. Because if you don't approach them, if you don't talk to them, you're never going to find them and you're never going to be able to date them, right? But what if you could flip the script entirely? What if you could get her to approach you instead of the other way around? It's possible. And not only is it possible, but it's a thing that happens regularly if you know what you're doing. And so I'm going to teach you guys today some of the most important techniques that I figured out in how to get a girl to approach me instead of the other way around. The very first thing, some of you guys are going to flip your lids on this one. The very first thing is your appearance, not your looks, but your appearance, because those are two very different things. So let's talk about this. Your appearance. What does that mean? Well, first of all, it just means the way that she's going to perceive you, how you appear to her. How are you going to come off? So that could be the clothes that you wear. What are you wearing? Are you choosing to wear a nice shirt with buttons on it, or are you wearing a scummy garage band t-shirt? What are you wearing? That's going to affect your appearance. How well kempt are you? If you have a beard, do you trim it regularly? Do you at least cut a line into it? Or do you look like you're homeless? Do you need a haircut? Do you trim your nails? Some basic things, right? Those are basic things, but those are going to fall under basic hygiene and fashion sense, right? That's not necessarily going to make her want to approach you. But what if you could appear in a way that's going to be more enticing to her? So this is one of the things that I use a lot, which is, like you guys have seen my hats and my different t-shirts and my fun things, the stuff on my bag. I've got those little plush dolls that hang off of it. Those are really useful because those affect my appearance, but they also give her a chance to approach me, because your appearance can work as a sort of bait, as a way to attract people in and give them a conversation starter. One of the things that you're going to need to realize very early on in this, if you're actually trying to get girls to approach you, you're going to need to figure out really quickly that girls are terrible at this. Boys, cut that shit out. Girls are terrible at this. They're not good at approaching. They're not good at flirting. They're not good at coming up with small talk. They're terrible at it, in fact. That's why most of the time guys have to do all the heavy lifting whenever it comes to getting things started, getting the ball rolling. So If you give her some decent bait, like your appearance, the way that you look, then you give her the opportunity to come up and ask you about it, or to comment on it, or even to compliment it, to talk about that bait that you're giving her. So, your appearance. Focus in on your appearance and how people will perceive you, how women especially will perceive you. Can you just stop it? Are you trying to show off for the camera or something? Fighting over shit? All right. Anyway, the way that you appear is going to make a big difference because, first of all, by not appearing like a total slob, obviously she's more apt to approach you anyway. But by giving her something that you guys have that she can talk about, that she can comment on, bring up to you, anything like that can work really well for you. Next, the next thing we're going to talk about is to be purposeful. To be purposeful. Now, what does that mean? What does that even mean? Well, basically, it just means that everything you're doing intentionally. You're not doing things just because you're going through the motions. You're not doing things because, oh, that's just the next thing to do, or this is what the other person before me did, or I think I'm supposed to do this, or anything like that. You're doing things because you specifically intend to do them, and you have a desired outcome from that action. Whatever that action is, even something as small as whenever you order a cup of coffee and then you hold out your hand to take the coffee. If you're kind of shaking and you're holding out, oh, is it ready? Can I get this? Is this mine? Is this one mine? That's not purposeful, right? That's asking permission. That's a little bit on the weaker side. That's the kind of stuff that she sees all the time because that is how modern society trains people to act. It trains them to act in these weak, mild-mannered ways so that, oh, I wouldn't want to offend someone. I wouldn't want to accidentally get in someone's way. And that's the opposite of what you want because that doesn't stand out. First of all, it's not attractive and it doesn't help you in any way. But second, it doesn't stand out. She has no reason to even take notice of you, to pay attention to you if you're acting that way. Now, on the other hand, if every motion that your body makes, even reaching out for a cup, if every single thing that you do is on purpose, is to make a point, is with a desired intent in mind, she'll notice. Even if that means you need to slow down and actually take some time to think about each thing before you do it, that's fine. Because in our fast-paced world of everybody's trying to get somewhere, everybody's got something to do, everybody's got this and that, whatever. Somebody who's slower, who takes their time, but is intentional, is purposeful in what they are doing. They're not just mindlessly strolling and checking out the beautiful weather and, oh, look, shiny thing. Not like that. Purposeful. It can be slow, but Simba, come here. It can be slow, but it must be purposeful. Fast and purposeful can work as well, but the point is that by acting this way, by acting with intensity, almost, an assuredness in yourself of what it is that you're doing, of who it is that you're trying to talk to, of what you're trying to say, you stand out from the crowd, from everybody else. That's why acting slower can, well, what's up, Coot? I'm glad to see you made it. That's why acting slower and more purposefully can actually help her to notice you more. Now, you might be saying, how is this going to help her approach me? Well, she can't approach you if she doesn't notice you, right? That's the most basic thing. She needs to notice you. And so, yes, things like what you're wearing, your appearance, things like that are going to help a lot, of course. But more importantly is that she takes notice of you in a good way. And this is one of the ways that you can do that to help her to notice you. Now, next up, number 3, frequent the right places. Now, this is an important one. I've talked before about finding the right places for the right times, about aligning your hobbies and your interests with the types of girls that you're trying to meet. And the same is true for this. By frequenting the right places, you put yourself in a situation where you have a better chance of the right types of girls, the girls you want to meet, seeing you, noticing you, and talking to you. Now, you're in these right places and you're acting purposefully and you are focused on your appearance and how you will be perceived by others, your chances of her approaching you have increased dramatically. What are the right places? Let's go over that real fast. So the right places. If, for example, if you're into the types of girls who go and hang out in coffee shops, independent writers or bloggers or, travel writers or something like that, or just weird coffee aficionados or something. If you're into the types of girls who go to coffee shops, but you drive through the coffee shop every day and don't go inside, you're not going to the right places, right? Same thing. If you're into punk rock girls, but you decided, well, punk rock girls like music, so I joined a class to learn classical guitar. No, you're not in the right place, right? You're on the right track, but you're not in the right place because you're not choosing the place where that type of girl is going to be, where you guys are going to match up. So I can't tell you exactly what the right place is going to be for you. Depends on the place where you live, right? What's around you, what's in your community, but also what kinds of girls you're interested in, who it is that you're trying to meet, who it is you're trying to talk to, who you want to approach you. And so you need to make sure that you are in the right place, again, with your appearance in mind. Because if you're dressed up like a punk rocker, but you're going to hang out with the hipster artists, you're not going to be approached in a good way, right? You want to show some commonality. You want to be aware of how you're going to be perceived by others. If you're going to a Comic-Con convention, then wearing your favorite anime t-shirt or something like that can work for you. But if you're going to a bartending school, that's not going to work, right? So make sure that you are matching all of these different things so that your appearance fits the place, fits the girl, fits you. That's the goal. Now, all of this that I've said so far, everything in the last 10 minutes has all been building up to the real point here. So I hope I weeded out the people who are just tourists, just coming in to see, oh, are there titties here? Are there titties? No, there are no titties today. But I'm going to teach you how to get some real titties. Because the fourth point, and this is the one that really matters, the fourth point is to create opportunities. You need to create opportunities for her to talk to you. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, Jack, that's not fair because girls don't create opportunities for me. They do, but they do in different ways that you aren't seeing. And I have to go up and just approach them cold. Okay, well, yeah, you might. And you're right. It's not fair. But do you want girls to approach you or not? Okay, so you need to create opportunities for her. Now, one of the ways you can do that is from your appearance. Like I was saying earlier, with the bag stuff or the hats or having a guitar on your back or anything like that, anything that's demonstrating outwardly something about yourself that she's going to find interesting, compelling, curious, that she's going to want to talk about. That's one way that you can create opportunities. Another way that you can create opportunities is by wearing something that is similar to her. Now, obviously, you can't plan this, right? You can't plan that. But if you're planning what you're wearing based on the place, then you might have something in common. Like if she's wearing a Red Hot Chili Peppers t-shirt and you're wearing a Nirvana t-shirt or something, then like, oh, okay, cool. That's a cool t-shirt. Yeah, I got it when I went to their concert on tour back in. If you went to a Nirvana on tour concert, you're older than me. Okay. So it's an example, though, of having something, again, on your appearance that's going to give her the opportunity to come up and talk to you. So there are outward things like that you can create, situations you can create that give her the opportunity to come up and talk to you, to comment on something, to ask a question about something. Anything at all can work for that. Outward stuff, visual stuff is the easiest. However, you can also do other things that give her the opening, the opportunity to talk to you. Like if you, I don't know, ask her to do you a favor. Ask her to do you a small favor. And this might seem like it's approaching, but it's not, because there's no approach anxiety to asking someone like, hey, could you hold this for me for a second? And then you do something else. I don't know, tie your shoes, whatever, right? And you ask her to do you a favor, a small favor. And it could be, to hold something for you. It could be to help point you in a direction of something. It could be to ask her opinion about something. It could be anything. But asking a favor then gives her the opportunity to say, like, oh, well, what are you doing? Like, where are you headed? Why are you going there? Why are you drinking beer at 12:30 in the afternoon? Let's have a little conversation. Let's open this thing up. And you open that opportunity for her to be able to talk to you. Because like I said, girls are not very good at this. They're not, because they're not practiced at it. Because usually they're the ones being approached. They're the ones who have to just sit back and wait and maybe make eyes at somebody and hope that they notice, show with their body language that they're interested, that they're open to being approached. Girls aren't used to going up and talking to people that they don't know. So whenever you give them these opportunities, it's not a guarantee that they're going to take it. Because if you think you get nervous approaching girls, think about how nervous they must get, seeing as they literally never do it. And it's the opposite of what they normally do. So you're going to have to give her lots of opportunities. And last, and maybe most importantly, you have to forgive her. Forgive her for being bad, for sucking at it, because she's going to. So even if she comes up and she approaches you and she says, that's a weird doll on your bag. Why do you have that doll on your bag? That's so strange. She's not trying to insult you. She doesn't know how to open you. She doesn't know how to approach you. She doesn't know how to talk to strangers. She's awkward. This is not a thing that she's used to doing. And just like guys in, like 7th grade or something, before they ever even learned how to talk to girls, but they started thinking like, oh, I like girls and I want to talk to them, but I don't know how. And so they just like throw rocks at them or some shit, right? Just like that, she has no experience with this. She doesn't know what to do. And so if she does approach, be gracious, forgive her, and play along, right? Let her talk, let her say her piece. Join in with her. Lead the conversation elsewhere, right? You don't have to point out that she's socially awkward. You don't have to point out that she's shit at starting conversations. She probably knows it. Her internal dialogue is probably like, oh my God, why did you say that? That's so dumb. Why would you ever think that that's the right thing to say? Just like we've all felt at times whenever we've been there and done an approach that has gone terribly awry. That's going to happen with her as well. So forgive her. Let her make her mistakes. It's okay. Because the thing is, the goal here was not to teach her how to be perfect at approaching. The goal was to get her to approach you. And if you followed these things, if you have created these opportunities for her, it doesn't guarantee that a girl's going to approach you, but it does significantly increase the likelihood. And you need to be tuned into it and be aware whenever girls do approach you, because a lot of guys won't even realize that a girl is approaching them because it's not quite as direct as when guys do it, right? A lot of guys will go up to a girl and be like, hey, you look cute. I'd like to take you out on a date sometime. That's most likely not going to happen. 99.9% chance that's not going to happen if a girl approaches you. Instead, she's going to make a comment about something, or she's going to ask you like, that's a really weird coffee order. Do you get that every day? That's fine. That's still an approach, right? So even something weird, even something off topic, something seemingly benign, use it as an opener to then begin your conversation. She's done the approach. Reward her for it. Give her your conversation, give her a little bit of your attention. And then if she sucks, then that's fine, right? Then you can peace out. But at least forgive her for making a bad approach. Now, with all that said, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Papa Jack, even if I do get her to approach me, or if I approach her and I get her number and I take her out, one of the things that I struggle with is kind of similar in this same vein, which is I've heard people talk about how you need to think of yourself as the prize and how you need to be the prize to get girls to chase you. And I just don't know how to do that. Okay, and that's fine. In fact, it's so fine that I have already created next week's topic, already written up on the board. Whoop! Quick preview. Already written up on the board and ready to give you this topic next week, because today I taught you how to get her to chase you at first. Next week, I'm going to teach you how to get her to chase you forever. So, if that sounds good, make sure that you bookmark your calendar for next week, Thursday at 2 p.m. Korea time, whatever time that is for you. It might be 5 a.m. like it is for our friend in Norway. It might be midnight like it is for our friend in Texas. But whatever time it is for you, make sure that you bookmark that time and come back. Or even better, just go ahead and hit the like button down below. Hit subscribe and then the little bell after that, and you'll get a notification that tells you when I'm going live. So be ready for that, and you'll learn how to get a girl to chase you to the ends of the earth. With that said, we're going to wrap up today's lesson portion and move on into the live Q&A section, because today is a really, really exciting and special day because we have a full panel today. Assuming that internet connections hold out from the middle of the jungle or wherever the hell he is today, we have a full panel of 5 players joining in today to answer your burning questions about your burning genitals. Hopefully not, actually. That would be a really weird question. We are not medical doctors. Do not take medical advice from us. With that said, YouTubers, hold on a second. I need to say goodbye to my friends over here on Instagram. I don't know how to bring you guys in for this stuff, so if you want to see the live Q&A, if you want to ask your burning questions about your hopefully not burning genitalia, you need to come over to YouTube. It's youtube.com/@RealJackNorth. Come over there and you can see the rest of this stream, and you can ask your questions live for us to answer them. So, see you guys later. And let's bring in our panel. So, coming in hot from Norway at stupid o'clock in the morning, we got Paul. Hold on.
Morning.
I feel like we can do better than this. All right. Coming in from California, the kid. Julius in Texas, and Big Rich. Coming in from, where are you right now? The Philippines?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, there he is.
Philippines.
Jungle internet working.
Notice how the internet is already that much better than in Thailand and the Philippines.
Yeah, it's way.
All right, good. Then let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm glad that everybody was able to make it today. I feel this is like a really special treat. Is it my birthday or some shit? Oh, it's good. Everyone's starting the new year off right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the kid, what you got for us today, buddy?
Yeah. So the first one is a community member submitted question. So he said, when I contact or meet a girl, friends with benefits or just one night, and later if I see her, social media updates where she is with another guy, maybe just friend, I start to be jealous. Even I know and understand that we're not in like a relationship, I still have a feeling like if I met her, she's mine, only mine. And at the same time, I can meet other girls. I'm asking myself, why can I meet different girls, but she can't meet various guys? I think my ego can't let me take it seriously. If we sleep and we are not in a relationship, why do I care about her other partners, even though I don't like her as a girlfriend? Maybe just as one of my partners. And that's the question. So a couple questions in there, a little bit longer.
All right. Here's the thing: is that's born into you naturally. And it's not a bad thing either, right? There's the idea of a man having multiple different women, multiple girlfriends or multiple wives, even is something as old as humanity itself. So, of course, you're going to naturally feel that thing. However, I'm going to urge you to do your best to fight it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, because it's not going to do you any good, right? Like, just like a lot of our evolutionary tendencies mentally that really don't serve us well in the modern era, this one also does not serve you well, because it's going to make you come off as super needy, super jealous, super possessive, and not in a good way, because it's not a protecting way. It's like a, no, you can't have that, it's mine. Oh, no, you can't touch that, no, it's mine. And that seems really, really petty when you act that way. I get what you're saying about like, oh, it's my mindset, I don't know why. There's the why. But what to do about it is, honestly, like you could try to talk yourself out of it. That doesn't really work all that well, not with most things. Instead, you just need to get busier, right? Like, why are you looking at this girl's social media? That solves the problem right there. Just don't look at her stuff. Why? Like, don't even be friends with a girl on social media if y'all are just banging. There's no reason to do that. Instead, just keep your relationship with her. If you're not interested in more than hooking up with her, keep your relationship to text only. And that's it. Just hook up, booty call when you want to. When you're done, stop texting. You don't want to deal with like the potential fallout and stuff if anything goes bad. Don't add girls onto social media. Anyway, just period. Just don't.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know.
Totally,
That's my
Jack.
two
I
cents.
completely
Go ahead,
agree
Rick.
with you. Yeah. These days, Instagram and Facebook and all that shit. Life's great because to hook up with, now I just force them to download Telegram, and then if they don't do that, or if they don't have Telegram, then yeah, I'll just go ahead. You don't want to be mixing your social media with girls that you just completely agree. You just don't want it there. Just keep that shit out of your head. It's got the natural biological instinct that, you see a girl out and she's with another girl, jealous, and then some guys will even go to the point of saying, "Oh, I really like you." Try and they'll go all needy and desperate and nice guy mode, and then they'll actually the girl they're not actually that interested in, but they're just fucking just because they get jealous and seeing her out. But yeah, basically you got to divide that shit up, like Jack just said. Also, you don't want hoes on your Instagram or Facebook who could do a post on your Facebook or something, or just blow your shit out. Just keep, you don't want it to be a real thing. Keep it off your close friends network. You won't have any problems.
Social media is like the worst thing. It's like being a spy and completely blowing your cover. Yeah, it's true, man. This sort of lifestyle on social media do not go well at all together. I learned that from some very good friends, and you don't put them on your thing because it's just bad. It never works out.
You want to hear something crazy? Like, I only have an Instagram for this stuff, for my business thing. My wife is not connected to my social media. We're married, and she doesn't follow me on Instagram, nor do I follow her, right? Like, it's a separate thing. The only reason to have any sort of social media is because you have some purpose for it. Now, if your purpose is like, oh, I want to put things up so that girls see how cool my life is, if you want to use that as like a DHV tactic or something, you can, in which case you just take them as followers, but you never look at social media. You put up your shit, and then don't go browsing other people's shit, right? Like, why would you do that? That's a total waste of time, and it's divorced from your actual purpose of why you created the thing in the first place. If you just created it to scroll through while you're sitting on the toilet, then don't add hoes to it, right? Like, just have your actual friends.
And one thing I've noticed too is that like when you add like a potential girl on Instagram versus say like Kakao or Telegram, whatever, just a strictly messaging app, the ones on social media, they just kind of like fizzle away very quickly. They just kind of become like a random number, and you never really talk to them ever again. Whereas the ones that you message personally on like a messaging app,
Yeah, they don't
remain
value it.
far more consistent.
They don't value that connection, do they?
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah, because you're just one extra orbiter, one extra guy that's giving them attention on Instagram, right? That's giving them likes.
And you could
Find
even
their
go the
backboard.
other way with it. And like this is what I do whenever I meet girls and they're like, "Oh, what's your Instagram? Oh, let me tag you in this thing." I'm like, "Okay." And I put it in there and I make them follow me, and then I don't follow them back. Like I don't care about your shit. You can look at my stuff if you want. You're not gonna like it, but you can.
Yeah, and also there's one more thing I was thinking is, especially if you're a guy that, okay, so you're having your harem and there's this one girl that is kind of in and out of it, and you have that, okay, first of all, then there's something you're not doing right. If you have girls that orbits you and then decides to orbit other guys at the same time, then you're not on point on your game yet. And I noticed that quite fast, that once you start getting things right, usually the girls get more pushy because they want more of you, not the other way around.
Yeah, and I mean, I get what you're saying there. I'm not sure that I would aim for random girls to be the control group for whether or not you're doing a good job, because these bar sluts will do whatever, right? However, that said, the issue here is not with her behavior. The issue here is with your reaction to her behavior. Because if you didn't want to hook up with a slut, then I mean, like, but you're hooking up with a slut, right? So if her behavior turns you off so much that you don't want to hook up with her anymore, that's fine. That's one thing, and then you cut her out. That's okay. But you still want to keep hooking up with her, but you don't want to know what she's doing, right? So you want to keep hooking up with her, which means you're okay with her behavior. So that's not the issue. You're just not okay with you knowing about it. So the easiest thing there is just cut out the you knowing about it part. And if you ever did want to get serious with one of these girls, first of all, don't, right? Like, don't. But if you did, then that's when you would actually talk to her and say, "Look, you got to cut this shit out." That's a whole different concept.
I think
Anyway,
TLDR, social media sucks.
Yeah. Social, like, just fuck off from social media. Period. You want to solve all these issues all at once? Just delete that shit entirely, or use it only for one purpose.
Yeah, it's so. I love it because if a lot of girls, like, they don't have some of these apps, or they just don't use some of them, or even just text messaging, right? As soon as you say you don't have Instagram, and then I've literally had to download Tone just so she can communicate with me. It's brilliant. I'm the only person on her telephone above all her other apps, above all the other notifications, and she's literally makes me so much more important than all the fucking retards messaging her on bing, 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 bing. I'm just in a completely different, just like, I'm way more important than all the others, obviously, because she downloaded the app just.
So this actually goes to one of the points that I'm going to go deeper into next week with how to get girls chasing you. But it's having them do something for you in her mind, right? So think about it from her point of view. You know, she's chatting with Rich and she's like, "Yeah, I kind of like him. I'm a little bit interested. Like, I'm not really sure." But then she's like, "Oh, download an app to chat with you?" "Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, I can. And then she does it because it's so low commitment, right? It doesn't cost her anything. She just downloads the thing and, like, sets it up 10 seconds, right? And then, "Oh, well, now I downloaded this thing just to talk to this guy. I must really like him." People justify their effort. Even if it's not a lot of effort, they'll justify it. And then on top of that, every time she even sees that icon on her phone, the only thing she's seeing is Rich, right? She sees the little Telegram icon, but really all she's seeing is, this is my Rich app. This is the one I use to talk to him. And when she opens it up, there's no distractions from other dudes messaging her on it. There's nothing else there. It's just her chat with Rich, and that's it. So it really does help a lot if you do something like that. This is why, I mean, talking to a girl on Instagram or Hinge or Bumble or Tinder, or honestly, to some extent, even dedicated chatting apps like WhatsApp or Kakao or something like that, it's gonna harm you a bit more because there's so much other stuff going on there to distract her away from just talking to you. But having your own app that is just you, it does make it a little bit different. It makes it a lot easier for her to focus in on you. Funny facts: Qatar blocks Telegram, but not Kakao. Huh. Okay.
That's just a fancy way of saying Qatar sucks.
Like, you don't have to use Telegram, right? Like you could use Signal instead. Hell, you could use Line, because anywhere in the world outside of Japan, fucking nobody uses Line. So you could use that, and it would just be your app, pretty much. You could use WeChat, right? Like you can use any of these apps as long as they allow you to take IDs. Then you can use it like that, right? It's easy. All right. So all that said, let's Kid, what do we got next? Sorry, the Kid.
Yeah. Next up, since we have like a full panel, I think it'd be
Yeah.
good maybe if everyone can kind of go into some of their own personal stories of times they've been approached, or they setup they tried to do to get approached and it worked out, like just some of your own personal stories.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you guys already know this, right? So especially you guys, because you've all been out with me a lot of times. Everything about me, not right now, like not while I'm sitting here in the room, but everything about me, from the things that I wear to the way that I act to the speed at which I speak and the word choice I use, is literally designed to attract girls at Corner Pub. Right? Like it's so specifically narrowed down to like, this is the thing that I want. Now it works if you spread it out a bit more, but it really works there. And so having a guitar with me, having the hats on, having the little toys and stuff on my bag, those are all specifically chosen and designed to get girls at Corner Pub to be like, hey, I like that. Oh, that's a cute little character. Oh, you know that character? Oh, that's so neat. I love that character. And I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck that is. It just looked cool, and so I put it on my bag. That works really well for me, which goes to the point that I was trying to make during the lesson, which is creating opportunities that are specific to who you want to meet at the place you want to meet them, that show that you guys have something in common. And so by creating that whole persona geared towards this one thing, you increase your chances 100-fold easily.
Yeah, definitely.
That doesn't give you a specific example, but it's because
specifics, Jack.
It happens relatively frequently. Not every time I go out, but probably about half the times that I go out, some girl is going to comment on my shirt, on my hat, on my bag, on my guitar, on whatever it is, because I'm specifically geared towards that audience. And so there's no specific example, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
you got to choose your environment as well. Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna mention two stories from my short experience of it. The first one is to demonstrate how hard it is for girls to actually approach you. Because me and one of my friends, we were walking around in Hongdae sometime last year, and we noticed that there are these two girls following us. So we decided, okay, we know they're following us. They don't look that good, and it's pretty early, so it doesn't really matter. But let's just see how this goes. So we start deliberately moving around to see if they're actually following. And I think we walked around the block from like down where that Irish pub is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Shamrock?
Up to, yeah,
Yeah.
from Shamrock to Corner. In that area, I think we walked every street for about an hour and a half with these girls following about 15 to 20 meters behind.
Holy shit.
Consistently.
An hour
And
and a half.
yeah, for an hour and a half, because it was freaking like 10 in the evening or something. It was pretty early.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, what the fuck is going on? And then we decided, okay, so I understand Korean, right? So I can hear them talking between themselves in Korean just loud enough that I know that they want to approach, but they are too scared, like by far. And then I say to my friend in English, how about we just stop, stand still and see what happens? And that was outside of Tokibi. And you know that concrete wall there with
Yeah.
the mirror? So they were like we were standing just by that boxing thing, and they were hiding around that concrete thing for a good 5-10 minutes
Oh,
before we
man.
said, "Ah, fuck it, let's just go talk to them."
Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
So yeah, that shows how scared girls can be of approaching, because that is not something they usually do,
Exactly.
especially
They
if
never
they're not.
do.
Yeah, and of course it comes a lot down to which types of girls they are, but most girls will never approach you willingly. And the second story is more about how you can always kind of like live up to your name and like always show up to be who people know that you are. So for me, a lot of my social cred came from who I was hanging out with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everyone in this group knows who you are, and everyone knows who the rest of the players in the group are. So they don't necessarily need to know you. And sometimes that is enough, that those girls that actually are willing to approach just, oh, I saw you hanging out with those guys. You seem cool. I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means girls come walking up in the middle of the street and just run into you and say, oh, I want to talk to that person. I think one of those people that I still remember that always were doing that would be Caesar knows her. Her name is, I think it's Angela. At least that's what we call her in English.
Oh yeah.
She got that from just me and Caesar hanging out. And then, oh, he's cool. I'm going to talk to him. And then for a long time, I had no recollection of who she is. But every time I walk past, she yells out my name.
Yeah.
I remember that night. Yeah. Wow, that was a lot
I
of fun.
don't.
Yeah, no, I think that was that random Thursday we went out and we got completely smashed. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I have I have one example where girls will just not approach you, but they will show every intent that they want to. I was at I think I was actually with Paul. This was at that Irish pub at Wolf forget the fucking name in Hongdae.
Shamrock.
And yeah, there we go. Remember, Paul, we were playing pool?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was wearing that shirt that Jade had given me, the tank top that says "Somebody suck me" on the front. And I admit, I was looking pretty good that day. And so, like, I was dressed like really flashy, kind of Hongdae street style. And the girls, they just kept looking and glancing and smiling and everything. I was like, okay, this only means one thing. So I just went right up to them, asked them if they wanted to play pool with us. And that's exactly how I got them to talk to Paul and I. The thing is, like, they wouldn't have ever come up to us to play pool with us or anything, or me, but they were just making it known, like, come fucking talk to me and do the work, because I don't know how to do this, right?
Yeah.
Approaching for girls is just, it's so alien to them almost that it's like, all right, fine, fuck it, I'll do the heavy lifting. You come and hang out with us. It also happened one time when Dan and we had gone out to Corner, and I noticed this girl, we were playing beer pong. And this is that night with that really tall Belgian dude who was with us, who was like a certifiable mute. And I noticed that the girls just kept looking at me, and they kept looking at me, and they kept looking at me. And one of them kept smiling. I was like, all right, fine, fuck it. We're playing beer pong. And I just brought them over. I was like, here, we're going to play with us. Let's just do this. And it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, got their numbers and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Most girls can't approach. Like, it's
They
just,
won't.
Yeah. It's just so, like, how could I possibly do that?
Like, the old, they'll just let it be known that they want you to do the approach, and like, please fucking approach me, because they just won't do it. And as Paul said with his example, that was a crazy story, you know, of them just following him around for an hour and a half. I would have been like, I wouldn't have known if that was either like really cute or really creepy. What do you think, Paul?
Oh, it was hella creepy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what did you guys end up doing at the end? Were they like
At the end,
backups,
they
or-
disappeared.
After all that work, they disappeared?
They disappeared. You can ask our fellow Norwegian blondie about it. He probably
Is that-
remembers.
Oh,
That's
man.
funny as hell. That is so funny. Yeah, women are just like a whole different breed. They could be so strange with their approaches. The
Right.
lack of.
So here's the thing is that I've heard my whole life that women have better social and emotional intelligence than men. But the older I get and the more experience I have with women, the less I think that that's even possibly true. Like, it's not in any way that
Shit, we've all met Sabina.
like I haven't seen any actual evidence of women being better socially or emotionally in any way.
I think that like women, I think society allows them to get away with being more rude than men. You know, where a
And
girl
just
will be like,
not knowing what
oh
to
yeah,
do.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to say like if a guy says, "Oh my god, that dress looks weird on you," to a girl, that'd be it. You know, you just your chances went to hell. But if a girl says that to you about like your shirt or something, that's okay for her to say.
Yeah.
Not saying that's social fluency, but I think they're allowed to be a little awkward than men.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
sure
well, I mean,
he
like,
said
Speaking of
one-
which, our weird Swedish friend is the wrong word, but the Swedish girl that we both know.
NPC.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
she's awkward as fuck, and she's not even
Oh.
very pretty. But it doesn't matter. Guys still want to talk to her, and they still want to fuck her because it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to be good socially to succeed in life. So it's just not a skill that women have ever developed, and they're really bad at it.
That's true.
Anyway,
Rich, what do you think?
yeah, Rich.
I'm sure you have a few stories to tell.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So one of the things that often when a girl does approach is, what's wrong with this chick? A lot of the time, like, wait, how crazy is this one? Like, yeah, because you know that happens as well. Like, if one directly comes up to you, it can be because you almost she needs someone to fuck for the night to give her a bed, or she's batshit cause drama, or whatever. But I mean, generally when usually it's kind of obvious. They'll just gradually edge closer to where you're. They'll start bumping into you. If it's in a noisy bar, they'll just bump into the side of you. If you're standing at the bar, you can generally spot it if you've just noticed to get closer to you. And then they get so disappointed, by the way, if you don't, because they're giving you all the signs. It's so fucking obvious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If a girl looks at you and she keeps nudging you, and then sometimes they'll get to the point where they're actually leaning at the bar, pressed up right against you. And if you don't say anything, then you can kill all her attraction for you like that, because they're just like,
Oh yeah.
Jesus, all the signs, and he's not saying hi. So
Which in her mind means that you're socially inept, that you can't pick up the signs.
Yeah.
But she's too socially
Exactly.
inept to just start the conversation.
I take two
yeah, but I mean,
magnets going in opposite directions.
I
right?
get I mean, I get it. Like, I'm fine when that starts happening. I and start chatting to them. But obviously, if they're minging, not interested in them, then yeah, I'll just bugger off.
Yeah.
Have to do it that way. That's just the way it works. It's just not. They approach you and say hi. I think you're really hot and everything. As a man, that is quite out of the. You get this weird, like, blip in your head, thinking, "Oh Jesus, like, why the fuck is she? She's so, unless you're attracted to her."
Is she trying to tell me something?
Yeah, it usually lowers their value immediately, unless they're really pretty. And if I'm approached by a girl I'm not that into, but I could fuck, but she approaches me, then I'm just like, alarm bells immediately. Usually, that's how we're kind of wired to respond to it. It's like, what the fuck? What does she want to? What's she selling?
Yeah, or herself, right? Like, you would just assume she's a working girl.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
If a genuinely hot, attractive girl came up to you and was like, "Hey, you're really handsome," you'd be like, "Yeah, how much for the night, though?" Now, Coop comments here, and he says that girls' awkwardness is cute, but guys past 13 isn't. I don't know. Maybe, but it's cute in the same vein as, like, a child trying to do something and being really shit at it is like, oh, that's cute. He's trying to do this thing. Like, I mean, I have many times in the past said just treat women like children, because that actually solves most of your game problems if you just treat them like children. But here's the thing, is that, like, these grown-ass women basically just are big children, which kind of makes me think that 77 cents on the dollar, they're overpaid, aren't they? Anyway, let's keep going. The kid, you got one more for us, buddy?
Yeah. So this one I kind of wrote before you guys all kind of went into your stories, which I found super interesting because it was all kind of like, specifically Paul's and Julius's stories were based in Korea, and same with Jack's. But the question was going to be of like, let me find it exactly, make sure. How would the perception of a language barrier affect your chance of potentially being approached? It was just interesting to notice how all you guys, the story was based around they were following or like looking, but they didn't actually do it. Do you think the language barrier had something to play there? Or was it just naturally how they're, going to behave no matter what?
Well, the language barrier is going to affect their willingness to approach you, because they assume you don't speak any Korean, right? So if you're in Korea, they assume you don't speak the language. And so they have to work up the courage in their minds to not just approach you, but also approach you in English. So does it lower the chances? Yes, but from 0.05 to 0.03, right? Like, again, choosing your audience makes a difference, because at Corner Pub, even the Koreans speak English. Not great, not all of them, right? But probably 90% of them speak passable English. They can make basic sentences and stuff. And so you try to plan around the language barrier being part of it, just to minimize the amount of luck that's required for it.
Yeah, I would also say it depends a lot. So yes, in my story where I'm walking around on the street, that is one thing. But also when you have that language barrier, for some girls, it might actually be less awkward to approach in English than in Korean, because if they are the type that don't really care, like they're a little lighter spirited and they don't take themselves so seriously, for them it's oftentimes more easy for them to approach in English than in their own language, simply because when they approach in Korean in Korea, that means everyone around you understands too.
That's true. Maybe it evens out. And on top of that, approaching a stranger in Korean is really, really fucking awkward. Like the way that the
Yeah.
language is built,
Yeah.
it's just the language is not built for meeting new people at all. So
It's extremely formal.
yeah,
And in Korean culture, it's not a society where like you strangers meet and approach and talk. Like it's just you don't really do that there.
yeah, it's not built into the culture, and
Right. Like
consequently,
you're supposed to
it's
be
also not
introduced to
built into the
people.
language.
Right. It's a bit stuffy and
Yeah.
not very, practical in these sort of situations.
Yeah. Now, here's one from Coot. Me and a friend got approached by a girl outside of Thursday party. She was trying to recruit us to become English. Right.
What the fuck?
Well,
That's a first.
Right.
so here's the thing: is that's kind of the like if a girl approaches you, kind of the assumption is that like she needs something, or she's trying to sell you something, or she's trying to like rope you into something. Like the Jesus people, they're happy to approach you all day long. Boy, girl, doesn't matter. They will approach everybody. And so whenever someone approaches you on the street, there's always like a bit of trepidation, especially as a guy. We're not used to getting approached. And so if it comes and it actually feels like she's good at it and practiced, then she's either a hooker or a Jesus freak, or she's trying to sell you something. It's one of those. And even the third one, I don't think anyone's ever actually trying to sell me things, at least not girls. It's usually just God people or working girls, right? And I bet even the working girls would be put off by the language barrier. Oh,
No, I have had the working girls have approached me a couple times.
yeah. It really depends on where you are. Where did you get approached by them? Hooker Hill in Itaewon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, because everything in Itaewon is in English, right? They
And
are
in Gangnam, actually.
in Gangnam.
Yeah.
Really
In the
interesting.
middle of the main bar street in Gangnam, where Thursday party and everything is.
Yeah,
Were
Even
they
there
trying
are
to
big
lure
fights.
you in?
Huh?
Were they like trying to lure you into the bar or something?
I'm not sure. I was busy.
Mm. Yeah, that happens sometimes if they're trying to like get people to come to their business bar or to their like sexy norebangs or something.
Yeah.
They'll send the girls out on patrol in the neighborhood, but they're usually wearing something identifying them. Like they're wearing like a sash from their business bar, or like
Right.
something specific, or they're just in their full on hooker uniform. You know, they got the fuck me boots and the tight
Fishnets.
little leather mini skirt and the fishnets, right? Like then you know, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, oh, Gangnam. I remember once I was so drunk, I decided to approach this girl and talk to her in an Indian accent.
Yeah, please tell me you did the head bob.
Of course. Come on. What is this, the Center for Ants? Of course it did the head bob. I think it was actually about mango juice.
The mangoes. If you think mangoes are good, you must try the papaya. My friend, I have a special discount for you on papaya. First customer of the day. Very lucky. Oh, the kid. Give us one more before we head off. If you've
Yeah,
got
for sure.
Yeah.
So, a lot of guys might hear this, right? And then they'll think, oh, okay, I need to just figure out how to get approached, right? And they'll kind of, never kind of start approaching, right? So I guess the question would be kind of twofold. One, what advice would you give to guys maybe who like want to be approached, but they're not really like approaching, right? And then the second part of that maybe would be, how long did it take for you guys to really notice you guys were getting like semi-approached?
All right. You don't see opportunities for things that your mind is not tuned to. If you're trying to get a job, but you're just waiting for one to like fall in your lap, then you're never going to get one. But if you go out and you're working at a job here and then you work a job here and you you do some interviews, and you put out some applications, and you're actually becoming part of that world, tuning into those opportunities. Then whenever you're talking with somebody and they mention a thing that's happening, and you say, well, that sounds like an interesting opportunity. Now I'm thinking I might actually be able to bring something to this project or to this work environment or something like that. You're already tuned into it. And so even if they aren't directly offering you the job, you see the opportunity for the job. And that is what women approaching you is like. Because women won't come up, like we said earlier, unless they're the God people or working girls, they won't come up and just offer you themselves, right? So you have to actually be tuned in to notice the opportunities, which means you need to be approaching, you need to start dating. And no, matching with someone on Tinder or on Hinge or Bumble or anything like that, that does not count as approaching. No, trying to slide into someone's DMs on Instagram, that does not count as approaching. That's not what this is. You have to start tuning your brain into it by acting in the way that tunes your brain to it, right? You can't just trick yourself to start seeing things. You need to actually start doing those things. And whenever you start approaching, and you don't have to be good, because this is the fun part, is actually if you follow all of this advice that I just gave you for how to get a girl to approach you, but then you just say, well, fuck it, now that I've done all these things, I'm going to approach the girl. Well, you've already just made it 100 times easier for yourself, right? Because you focus on your appearance, on how she perceives you. You've gone to the right places. You're doing things in a purposeful way. Even the approach is in a purposeful way. You have opportunities already created, something to talk about. Even if it's just something fucking stupid, like a bear dressed up as an octopus that I can't point because my thing is mirrored, right? A bear dressed up as a fucking octopus, and you go up to her and you say, I love takoyaki, but have you ever tried bear takoyaki? Stupid, but you've already followed all the other things, and now you can approach, and it's so much easier because you've already set yourself up for success. So, does this work to get girls to approach you? Yes, it increases your chances by a lot. But if you follow those same steps and then you just do the approach yourself, to the moon, your chances of a successful approach have now skyrocketed. Plus, you're tuning your brain in so that whenever girls are, like Rich said, opening themselves up through body language, like Paul said, when they're following you around and they want to approach you, but they're too shy or they're too nervous, then it lets you tune into those things. You notice those things because you get it, because you've been there, because you felt those things, and because you're starting to pay more attention to women and the signs that they're giving you. So, can you do this and just never approach at all? You can certainly try. It's not going to work for you. I mean, you might get a girlfriend when you're like 45 or something, maybe, if you're waiting long enough. But that's not the strategy for success. That's a strategy to guarantee failure, right? Instead, you take the higher chances of success that already come with this, and then you multiply those by actually doing approaches as well.
Yeah, so for getting approached, I think there are a few key things that kind of enables that in the first place. And first of all, it's being approachable. You need to give off the vibe that you are interested in talking to people.
Yeah.
And one of the easiest way to do that is, of course, being hypersocial. If you go to a bar, talk to everyone. Like, don't care who they are, just talk to everyone, because that means for people that sees you in that state, they're either this guy knows everyone, or he's just super good at talking to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those are going to make it easier for girls to be willing to approach.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And for the, how to notice it, that is, you have to approach a shit ton of people, and you have to go on a shit ton of dates. Because in the start, especially for guys that are a little not experienced in game in the first place, usually what they struggle the most at is noticing when someone actually has attraction for you. And in the start, you can be sitting face to face, like 1 meter apart, and you don't even notice the signs. After you've done it for a while, you will be able to see the signs from 20 meters across the bar. And that is when you're like, okay, you know, if you just wait long enough, there's a 50-50 she approaches you, but you've already seen the green light, so why don't you just go talk to her?
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to it's just experience and repetition, because that's what you need to kind of pick it up.
So
I
that's
do.
that,
I
that,
do
that's a
agree
really
with
good.
the approachability. Absolutely. Because I remember you had a guy we all went out with, and he had a really, I wouldn't say a tough demeanor, but he had a demeanor that just kind of let everyone know, don't talk to me. Right. And of course, he was standing there quietly instead of just kind of throwing himself into the party environment, talking to as many people as he could, approaching as many people as he could, even if they were fat and ugly and disgusting and then practicing. He was just like, unless these girls are on my level, 10 out of 10s, I will not talk to them. Right. He didn't do himself any favors that night as a result, because he did everything the opposite of everything Paul just said.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a really good point is
Yeah.
learning how to read the signs and to tell if someone is attracted to you or if they're not. Learning how to read what she's showing you instead of trying to listen to what she's telling you, because girls don't even know when they're attracted a lot of the time. And that if they do, they won't admit it, right? Because that it lowers their value socially to admit that they're attracted to someone, that like, oh yes, he's the prize and so I should chase after him. And so you need to learn how to read the things. So this fear of approaching, this fear of talking to people comes from not knowing if someone is interested in you or not, if they're going to be attracted to you or not. Paul's point was by going on dates or by talking to people, even if you're not attracted to them, even if you're not interested in them, you start to pick up more of these signs, more of these subtle cues. You start to learn how to read the body language and the subtext behind what's being said. And by doing that, you learn how to tell if you should even bother approaching this girl or not, without your brain making excuses like, oh, no, don't approach her. She won't be interested in you. It's just the reality, because you know from experience of thousands or even tens of thousands, Simba, stop, of approaches, that you know what's going to work and what's not. So if you're nervous about doing approaches, cool. You want to fix that nervousness, do approaches. It sounds counterintuitive, but this is actually how it works.
Yeah, but at that point, you can go from doing approaches to people that you like to just get over the nervousness. It's just, okay, screw whether they're hot or not. The point is not to get them on a date or get a number. It's just to do the actual approach.
Yeah.
And then just talk to people.
Right.
Because everyone can talk to people.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, no matter how awkward you are, everybody can talk to people. It's something that we do all the time, and you have to do it to get by in society. Even if you're a natural introvert, you still have the ability to talk to people, right? So you need to use what you have. If that means you need to work in smaller groups, that's fine. If that means you need to work in shorter time frames, however it works for you mentally, emotionally, that's fine. That all works. But this idea that guys have in their head, for some reason, guys think that like, oh well, if I learn enough things, if I listen to enough podcasts, if I watch enough videos, if I read enough books, then I will be able to approach girls and never fail. Right? Well, like, first of all, that doesn't exist, period. But also, why would you want to do that? Because then you're not going to learn anything from it, right? And so you're not going to actually learn who you're more interested in, who you're not interested in. It's a ridiculous mindset to have. It's like, I don't know, it's like trying to play a Dark Souls game, but like you're only going to play it if you can get through the whole game without ever dying once, or playing Doom or whatever. Right? And it's like, dude, just fucking do it, right? Like, it's okay if you fail. It's okay if you die. That's kind of the point of it, is you do it and you fail, but you get better so that you can do it really well by the end. And then you're not afraid of it anymore, right? Like, that's kind of the point.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's a good place for us to go ahead and wrap this up. So, for those of you who are still with us, if you haven't done it yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. You guys know the drill. You know the drill. It's the only thing that feeds the algorithm because apparently I can't do it myself. So, with that said, thank you for joining us. And I need to face this way, to my lovely panel from all over the globe, thank you for joining us. Tim, I'm glad that you joined us for the whole thing. Yeah, dude, I'm glad you joined in. That was a lot of fun and appreciate you guys. So until next week, where remember, we're going to teach you how to be the prize and get women chasing you forever. I'm going to get out of here. So, Papa Jack out.